What is going on, everybody? Welcome back to my channel. I'm Roxora, and we are continuing today with the set review of Archazia's Island. We're doing the Amber cards today, and yeah, it should be awesome to kind of look at the set. It's coming out soon, and so we want to make sure to examine the set for any worthy additions. Before we get into the video, remember to like, comment, subscribe. Again, helps me out. So yeah, we're just looking at the mono ink, the single color ink cards here. So again, not going to take a look at Restoring the Heart and some of the things like that. If you want to look at those, check out my previous video where I talk about the dual ink cards. Very exciting, good and everything. But other video, and also check out the other video for the grading scale that I use. Again, I kind of derived it a little bit from Magic. Not going to go over that here. Again, check out the other video. We're just going to get right into it. So starting off with Roger Radcliffe, I'm going to try to skim over some of the ones that are kind of whatever. Roger Radcliffe is an interesting one for the puppies deck. They also have the canine crunchies here that gives the puppies 1 willpower. The issue is that all this kind of does is just give them +1, like, again, 1 additional HP, which is not that good, but if they can manage to survive, and then Roger can heal them up, that could be interesting. Again, on a 1-drop, it's kind of interesting that you have this repeatable effect, but otherwise, yeah, I don't think the puppies deck are really going to make too great usage of these. The other cards that the puppies archetype got is a little bit better. So both of these I'd probably just give like a D. They're pretty low impact, and again, really only good in the one deck. Moving over to Amber Coil here. So there's again a cycle of these coils, 1 in each color, and they all are an item that does something whenever you ink. And so this one heals 2. Coming down on turn 1 is, or sorry, for 1 ink isn't bad. And again, the removing the damage is nice. This could be good for, again, the Grand Hobby deck. But otherwise, there's not really too much going on with the Amber Coil. It just looks, again, like a D. It just looks like a card that's just kind of, it hasn't quite gotten the enablers yet. Trust is just a 2/2 with support. Not really gonna, again, not even gonna bother grading some of these. They're just kind of whatever cards. Candlehead also kind of the same. It's just kind of whatever. The Prince is an interesting one in that it's a pretty big bodyguard. The uninkability is rough, but the hero and Prince tag is nice. I think it still just kind of gets overshadowed by blue. Again, if you're playing an aggro deck, why, like a deck that's running, like, wants to run a bodyguard, right? You want to run some questers. Like, why would you run this over blue? Again, there may be some hero and Prince synergies that make this a little bit better. So C-. Again, it's playable. Like, I could see a reason for it. It's just, again, it's like slightly better than Simba, but also slightly worse because it doesn't deal damage back. It's uninkable. Yeah, actually, now that I'm thinking more about it, it just looks like a D. Again, unless you really care about the tags there, the properties there, not too exciting. Minimax here is one of the Amber legendaries, and I was thinking of, like, do I want to talk about the legendaries in a different video or just all together? So yeah, it is what it is. This card is kind of weird. I'm not really sure how to evaluate this card. I've been looking at this card, and I know some aggro fans are like, ooh, yeah. So 2 costs uninkable, 1/2 hero. Not bad for, again, stats and traits and whatever. It has no lore. And you might say, okay, well, what is this character doing? So it says, whenever you play a character, this character gets +1 lore this turn. So that's kind of interesting. And then whenever quests, chosen opposing character loses strength equal to this character's quest until the start of your next turn. So, right, so you play this, you play a bunch of characters, you quest with it, and then you shrink something. Again, the issue, just like with all of this, is rush characters, right? That's a big one. Steel removal just doesn't care about this. Then the big thing is you top deck this, you play it, and it's essentially just, at most, it's questing for 1, right? If you have no cards in hand, right, you play this out, that next turn you have to top deck a character in order to just quest for one with this. Um, it looks pretty bad. It looks like it's so weird that like it's a legendary, it's aggressively oriented, but it just looks it just I'm thinking out how this card's gonna play out. It just seems pretty bad. I'm gonna give this a C. I yes, you can have the starts early, but like on turn 3, what's the difference between again, like I just think the just one more ability is just really not going to come into play too often. Yeah, it's kind of nice, but also if my opponent just has like two decently statted characters on board, like one of them gets nerfed and the other one just kills Minnie Mouse or kills something else, and it's just like, okay. I was also going to mention that this doesn't play well into cards like Be Prepared or Sisu, because in order for you to continue to apply pressure with this, you have to continue to develop your board. You can't quest with this, right, pass and say, hey, you know, you still have to deal with this card. You have to continuously, it's not for each character in play, so you have to continuously add to your board, and that's not really something that a play pattern that I think is going to end up working out well. So yeah, I know like people are kind of thinking of some dream scenarios with this card. Again, the quest ability is potentially interesting. It's like almost there. The fact that it's based off of its lore makes me like, I wish it was almost kind of like a set value instead. I mean, yeah, because then like, yeah, I don't know, that is just seems like a really weird card. And again, unless the aggro decks just start, you know, getting super fast, which again, I don't really think besides this card, there's not really too much else like aggro wise that the deck really got help with. So yeah, I think it's just a C. We had so much to give here. Is a 2-cost song. Draw a card, give something bodyguard until the start of your next turn. So this is kind of interesting for a couple of reasons. Again, obviously just a nice 2-cost song. But then also, sorry, 2-cost song, cantrips, right? So it's already kind of fine in and of itself. Obviously, if you have a strong character like Calhoun, you know, maybe you bodyguard your Calhoun, it has resist, and that kind of makes your life difficult for your opponent. Can also do this with the Robin Hood and Steel Song, right? So you turn your Robin Hood into a 3/6 bodyguard. You can even challenge with it, right? And they're forced to challenge into it, kill their own character, give you a card, even if they kill your Robin Hood. So there you can see some of the applications of this card, and then also just reverse wise, if your opponent has a character that you want to challenge and a bodyguard, you can give the character that you want to challenge bodyguard. You can give an opposing character bodyguard. And that's kind of interesting that you can kind of counteract the bodyguard nature of one of their characters. So yeah, this looks pretty playable. It looks just like a fine C. Like again, this card definitely can see some usage. Next up, Spaghetti Dinner from Lady and the Tramp. It's a funny one here. 2-cost, uninkable item. Exert and pay 1 if you have 2 more characters in play, gain 1 lore. So kind of like sorry, I was gonna say magic mirror, but it's the magic spell book or the sorcerer spell book, whatever it was called, the amethyst item, right? So that it's kind of the same thing, but in amber. The question is, you know, is this good enough? I guess it's probably pretty decent. It's probably just a C. Again, it's in a deck. If you can work around the uninkability, if your deck has enough uninkables, this is a nice way to close out the game. It's not great if your board gets Be Prepared, but it is just a nice way to kind of burn out the last couple points of lore. I don't think it's amazing, but it definitely could. Someone could find a reason to put this card into their deck. Again, you could the Steel Song decks, right, had the flute, right, and then again the Amethyst decks have the spellbook already. So giving Amber a way to finish up the game, this is a nice little could be a buff for more aggressive Amber decks. Next up, we got the Glass Slipper here. So there's an enchanted of it. I'm going to talk about this card just in its evaluation first, and then I'm going to comment on something about the design here. So, first of all, 2-cost uninkable item. Says you can only have 2 copies of the Glass Slipper in your deck. Banish this item and exert one of your prince characters. Search your deck for a princess character card and reveal it to all players. Put that card into your hand and then shuffle your deck. So this is also working well. Sorry, I should probably talk about the Cinderella here. That says whenever you play this, you put the item named Glass Slippers from your discard on the bottom of your deck to gain 3 lore. So the whole point is that you have this plus a prince out. You activate this and exert your prince. Notably, it must be a dry character, the prince that you exert, because of this symbol right here. This symbol means that you have to be eligible to exert it normally, meaning it has to be dry. So you play your prince, you play this, you exert it, and then you banish this and go and get the Cinderella, and then you play the Cinderella, and then boom, you've gotten 3 lore. Not particularly strong, again, because this Cinderella character, again, is not just any item. It has to be specifically the Glass Slipper. It has to be in your discard. It has to be put on the bottom, and all these things. And then this is just a 2/4/2 character. That's pretty underwhelming. So yeah, the play pattern of it, again, it's interesting that these work together, but the fact that these cards don't work at all unless you have both of them, unless you have gotten access to the Glass Slipper, which is, again, only 2 copies in your deck. So yeah, I just think this is kind of whatever. Looks pretty bad. I'm going to give this a D because that is where it is on the ranking system. I want to give it an F. But again, play wise, again, you could put these cards into your deck. It just wouldn't, and they would function. It just wouldn't be very good. Right. This combo, quote unquote, is not unplayable. Again, you could run a deck with it. I just think it's really bad. But yeah, I just also, sorry. So that's my end of evaluation of the card. Evaluation wise is just kind of whatever. Design wise, I think this is a really, really bad design. For a couple of reasons. Bad design in terms of it makes the card difficult to use because you have a 60 card deck, you have 2 copies of this card, and then again, your other cards that you're trying to work with this only function or only work well if you've gotten access to this card, which again, you can only run 2 copies of. So I just don't like that. I'm not really sure if they did this for flavor reasons. Like maybe they were like, oh, there's only 2 slippers, so there should only be 2 copies. I don't know if that was the reason for this, but then kind of going along with that, if on the opposite end the perfect pair text was added because they think this would be too strong, I think it's really annoying. It's just bad design. They should change something about the combo so that you can just run 4 Glass Slippers. I think even if it wouldn't really be that good. It's it just is confusing to me as to if you're going to make this ability. So again, I've talked about this a couple of times when we're evaluating cards to talk about things. I just don't like search effects. The overwhelming amount of them in Magic and the fetch lands, if you're aware of that, and all these things, the potential for combos, the consistency, the repetitive nature that it can cause, not a fan of. Right. So I think, combining that with this, you're limiting the cards to 2 copies. I just don't get it. Nothing about this card makes sense to me. So anyways, rant over. That's the end of my rant on Glass Slippers. Just a card that really, really annoys me. Anyway, let's talk about another interesting card here in Aurora, the other Amber Legendary. 3-cost inkable 1/4/2 Singer 5 Hero Princess, and then whenever you remove 1 or more damage from a character, I just realized it's not doesn't have to be your own character, and can be a different character. Ready this character, she can't quest or challenge for the rest of this turn. This is the classic, again, trying to do the Singer stuff with the princesses. Some of the princesses, again, like Rapunzel, heal up your characters, so you could sing this, do something with it, heal it up with an effect like Rapunzel. and then ready it, sing with it again. Kind of some cool stuff. There's also stuff where it's just from it can be itself. So you could again do some shenanigans where if you have like, an Alan a Dale or something that pays you off for playing songs, you can exert this, damage, or sorry, damage it somehow, heal it up, and then continue to sing songs that damage and then heal, and then damage and heal, and you see where I'm going with. Like you could do some shenanigans with it where you just repeatedly use it to sing over and over. And I like that. I think this is amazing. It is also contradicting, or sorry, not contradicting. It's conflicting with the aerial slot. It's cool that Amber now has two characters. Sorry, a bunch of characters that you can just play on three that are singer fives. You have the Gaston now. You have the Gazelle, and then now you have this added to that suite, so it gives a lot of options. And then again, maybe again a princess deck works with this, or you could use the Ruby songs. I've been trying to again. I think I showed off a Amber Ruby song deck that's trying to use not bare necessities, teeth and ambitions. So yeah, so I think that's pretty exciting that that this card exists. Now that being said, do I think it's great? I think the fact that this doesn't get a card like Ariel does makes it significantly worse than Ariel. In terms of doing the singer thing, maybe again if we're doing instead of finding and playing the songs, maybe once you've already accrued enough songs, you can do some shenanigans with this. So yeah, that being said, I think it's just a C plus. I think it's not quite to a B, but I think there's definitely a deck that could maybe experiment with this card. All right. Next up, Mariano's just a stupid Dolores card. Coda is interesting. It's a 3 cost inkable 2/2/3. So it's a pretty aggressively slanted character. Seems fine. It just looks like a C. Is it great? No, but it could see some play in something. Scalhoun, Peppa is pretty. I guess Peppa is a C. It's gives you benefit whenever one of your characters sings a song. So it's not like Alan Adale where it just gives you benefit for playing a song. Specifically has to sing it, but gives you some lore, which is nice. So again, that just both of those cards just kind of add to this, song deck. You just play a bunch of characters that benefit you for playing songs and start spamming them. It's cool. It's fine. So it's just a C. We talked about Cinderella. There's like Susie. There's a Bolt here. These are all just kind of whatever. We got Kenai here. It's exerted. You can at the end of your turn, you can ready another character of yours and remove all damage. This is very similar. There was a character that did this in a previous set. It was like a 1/5. And it readied it, but it didn't heal it. But at the same time, I think that character requested for 2. And neither of those, not that nor this card is going to see play. It just looks like a D. It's a hero, which is nice. But again, it's just this effect is just a little bit too weak. The removing damage is kind of interesting. Actually can kind of work with Aurora. Actually, interesting that like you can heal up a character and then ready Aurora. After singing as well, so you can kind of ready 2 characters instead of 1, but that doesn't change my evaluation of the card. This card looks pretty good. You got Snow White, 4 cost inkable, 2/2/2. Again, a hero princess, can't be challenged, so it's not even like evasive. It just straight up just can't be challenged. So you can just turn it sideways, keep questing with it until your opponent answers it. Obviously, we have good answers like Brawl and Fire the Cannons and Baboomins and things like that. Let the Storm Rage On. So there's issues with this card that's funny. Is like this is a good Amber card, but it's not solving the issues that Amber has against like the decks with lots of removal like Steel. So I think it's a good card. It's definitely a C plus. Like it's definitely a playable card. It's just, okay, you can play it in an aggressive deck, you can put it out there, but it doesn't solve the issue of, if your opponent just has a piece of removal, it kind of ruins it. But if they don't, okay, it's just free lore every turn. So it's fine. Just some bulk stuff. Getman's here. It digs in more into the bodyguard stuff. It says whenever a card's put in your inkwell, your bodyguards get +1 lore. That's kind of nice. Again, there's the not blue, the Little John deck, right? So then you can kind of combine with all of those. Seems fine. It's just a C. The bodyguard is kind of whatever. It's good in like multiples as well, right? So I guess because yeah, if you have 2 of them, then this just kind of goes off. Sure, it's just a C again. It's a there. You could slot this into a deck. It's not going to be like a dominant card. Isabella Madrigal, 5-cost sinkable, 3/3/4. So very aggressively statted. And then whenever one of your characters sings a song, this character can't be challenged until the start of your next turn. So kind of just like the Snow White, just says can't be challenged. It's not bad. It's also, again, it's got the Madrigal stuff. So again, the Madrigal cards are all about your characters singing songs. And so then this can just start spamming lore. So not bad. And then it pairs well. Sorry, it doesn't pair. Sorry, pairs well with, it's kind of very similar to the other Isabella Madrigal. So it's interesting in that, you know, kind of which one do you want to end up running? The other one has evasive. This one's a little bit more definitive of you just can't challenge this, but it's also uninkable. So interesting deck building decisions. It just looks like a C. It's a fine card. It's just not crazy. And then I think it's our last card here already. Yeah. So it's interesting that like some of the cards here, again, there's a lot of them that are dual inks. So I just don't know how the set is collated. So anyways, we got Wreck-It Ralph here. So last card for this video. 6-cost inkable, 3/8/1 hero. It's got the outflank ability during your turn. Remember, one of your other characters is banished. This character gets +1 lore this turn. Initially, I was like, oh, I don't find this very exciting, but I realized it was not once per turn. So you can play out your board, play this out, and then just start slamming your characters into theirs, and then quest with this, and then boom. Yeah, you just have a bunch of lore. That being said, it's a 6-cost character that doesn't really do a whole lot. It kind of only wants to quest. It can challenge decently as a 3/8, but I'm not super excited by this card. I think it's, again, when I initially saw it, I was like, wow, this card's terrible. Then I realized, again, it's not just once per turn. You can kind of get multiple effects out of this. Yeah, it's just a C. It's just a fine big dumb card. That's all it is. Maybe you're, you could run the Shirkan deck, right? And then you're just like challenging. Notably, it's not challenge. It is specifically banished. So if your characters are bigger than theirs, yeah, this is why. It's just like, it's so inconsistent. And then even if you do successfully do this, you're giving up characters for some lore. So yeah, it just looks like a C minus even. I think it's not really that good. But again, it's not good, but it was better than I initially anticipated. I originally would have probably given it an F, but yeah, a little better. Yeah, that's all the Amber cards here from Archazia's Island. Again, I could talk about some of these other cards here, but it's just kind of not worth. Like, do you really want me to talk about this card for another 2 minutes? That's what I thought. So yeah, again, if you're interested in the dual ink cards, check out my previous video. But yeah, and then in the next video, we'll be talking about Amethyst. All right, guys, thanks again for watching, and we'll see you guys in the next video.